Usually when we talk about career advancement, there's this expectation of clarity. Like the metaphor we always hear is about climbing the mountain, right?
Oh, yeah. The classic corporate ladder mountain. You hike up, you reach the summit.
Right. And suddenly you have this like perfect, unobstructed 360-degree view of the entire landscape below you. You can see everything.
It's an appealing idea for sure. I mean, the assumption is the higher you are, the more you see.
Exactly.
But, well, anyone who has actually managed a complex organization knows that the mountaintop is almost always completely swallowed by clouds.
Yeah.
You get up there and you can barely see your own hands, let alone the valley floor.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. For you listening right now, whether you're running a startup, maybe leading a mid-sized team, or honestly, if you're just trying to decipher how the massive corporate machine you work for actually functions.
Which is a task in itself.
Oh, totally. We are going to redefine what it means to truly understand that machine. So today, our insights are drawn entirely from a really fascinating piece by Stella Pop. It's titled, How Well Do You Really Know Your Business?
Yeah, and it's a great piece.
It really is. And our mission today is to break down this trap of modern management. We're looking at why relying strictly on, executive summaries, beautiful dashboards, and AI is actually incredibly dangerous.
Right.
And we'll talk about how you could build a mental model that actually lets you influence the game rather than just passively reading the scoreboard.
I love that framing because the core paradox we're unpacking today is that as you move up in an organization, you gain authority, right? But you naturally lose proximity.
You get farther away from the actual work.
Exactly. You get people to handle finance, you hire a head of sales, a director of operations, and in return for stepping back, you receive these, beautifully designed dashboards and synthesized reports.
Just a sea of charts.
Yeah. And it becomes entirely possible to run a company for a month without ever once interacting with the actual work the company does.
It's like the ultimate executive bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And what really stood out to me in the Stella Pop piece was this critique of those dashboards. I mean, we love them because they organize a chaotic world, right?
Oh, absolutely. They make us feel in control.
But a dashboard is just a curated, heavily compressed version of reality. I kind of think of it like driving a car by only looking at the speedometer and the gas gauge.
Yeah.
And just being completely unaware that the engine is smoky and the tires are totally bald.
That is a perfect analogy. Or think about it like looking at a highly compressed JPEG image on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
From far away, you see the general picture. It looks like a beach. But if a problem pops up and you try to zoom in to see why a specific pixel in the corner is red, you just can't.
It gets all blocky and weird.
Right. It's just a blurry artifact. Executive summaries compress reality in that exact same way, and they lose the high-resolution truth of what's actually happening on the floor.
And that compression creates these wild contradictions. Like you might be staring at a dashboard where the revenue arrow is bright green and pointing up. Everything looks amazing.
We're making money.
Right. But down on the uncompressed floor, customer satisfaction is just quietly tanking. And why? Because, maybe the sales team is being super aggressive in closing bad fit clients just to hit their quota.
Which happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And so your support team is getting screamed at all day. But the dashboard doesn't tell you the support team is miserable. It just says, hey, revenue is up.
Exactly. Or look at utilization metrics. This is the percentage of time your team is actually billing hours or actively working versus sitting idle.
Right, the efficiency metric.
Right. So on a dashboard, 100% utilization looks like maximum efficiency. You are getting every single ounce of value out of your payroll.
Which sounds great to a CFO.
It does. But in reality, your employees are completely exhausted. They have absolutely no time for deep work, no time to fix broken processes, and they're probably, updating their resumes on their lunch break.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the metrics tell you what happened, but they aggressively hide the mechanics of how and why it happened.
Okay, wait. I have to push back here a little bit because let's unpack this. Let's say I'm running a $50 million company. My time is incredibly expensive.
Sure.
You're telling me I shouldn't rely on my department heads and their summaries? Isn't the whole point of effective leadership to delegate? If I'm ignoring the dashboard to go dig into the weeds and check on the support team's mood, aren't I just micromanaging? That sounds like a terrible ROI for my time.
Well, that is the exact tension every good leader faces, but there is a massive difference between delegation and the abdication of understanding.
Okay, say more about that.
The source makes it clear great leaders absolutely do not need to perform every single job inside their organization. You shouldn't be the one answering the support tickets, right?
Right.
But you do need to intimately understand how those tickets are generated, how they flow through the system, and what structural issues are causing them to spike.
So it's about the mechanism.
Exactly. Understanding the underlying mechanism that moves a number on your dashboard is fundamentally different from jumping in and doing the task yourself.
Okay, so if the dashboard is just this compressed JPEG, just the scoreboard, how do we actually get down on the field and see the pixels?
Well, you have to deliberately bypass the layers of interpretation. The source material refers to this as getting close to the machine.
The machine.
Right. And it requires stripping away the polish. You have to look at the physical, gritty mechanics of the business and the actual human beings buying from it.
And the piece lays out these rapid-fire questions that, honestly, they serve as a brilliant gut check for anyone in a leadership position. So if you are listening to this right now, think about these for your own organization.
Yeah, these are tough.
They are. Like, where do your leads actually come from? And not just the marketing category, but the actual human source. Where do prospects usually abandon the process? Or which specific employee would cause the biggest operational panic if they walked out tomorrow?
Yeah, and if someone confiscated your PowerPoint slides right now and locked you out of your analytics software, could you answer those questions?
Most people couldn't.
Most can't. Most leaders can deliver a really polished elevator pitch about what the company does, but they completely struggle to diagram the actual machine.
And to fix that, Stella Pop gives these very actionable, unglamorous assignments. Like, it's basically undercover boss, but without the fake mustache, just doing the humble groundwork.
Right, no prosthetics required.
Yeah. They say, listen to raw sales calls. Don't look at the conversion rate, actually put on headphones and listen to the hesitation in a customer's voice.
Which is terrifying for some executive.
Oh, totally. Or sit down with the person who sends your invoices, open the CRM yourself, and try to follow a project from a signed contract all the way through to final delivery.
Yep.
They even suggest calling your own company's main phone number or trying to fill out your own website's contact form.
That last one is incredibly revealing, honestly. Think about how often a broken contact form or, a super confusing automated phone tree just sits there for 6 months.
Oh, press 1 for this, press 2 for that.
Exactly. And it's actively costing a business hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost leads simply because no executive ever bothered to use it.
Because we were too busy looking at the report that said inbound leads are down this quarter.
Exactly. And going back to your earlier pushback about the ROI of your time, if you sit with the invoice clerk for 30 minutes, you might discover that the billing software requires 15 redundant clicks for every single invoice.
Wow, yeah.
You're paying thousands of dollars a year in wasted labor for those clicks. A dashboard will never tell you that. It will just say, well, billing costs are rising.
Which brings up a question, though. Is information really that distorted by the time it reaches the top? Like, why can't we trust middle management to report accurately?
That is the core reason why walking the floor is so vital. It is about the nature of information flow. There is a line in the Stella Pop piece that I think every manager should frame on their wall.
Okay, let's hear it.
It says, the farther information travels, the cleaner it tends to become. Businesses are rarely that clean.
Wow. The cleaner it tends to become. That is a phenomenal lens to view your inbox through. So why does it get so aggressively cleaned up?
Well, it's just basic human nature and corporate survival, right? At every level of management, the rough edges get sanded down.
Right.
So imagine a critical project is facing severe delays. At the ground level, the engineering team is in an absolute panic. They're missing components. The code is buggy. It is a raging fire.
A total disaster.
Right. So the manager reports this to the director, but they soften it. They say, we are facing some headwinds, but we are reallocating resources.
Oh, wow. I've sent that email.
We all have. Then the director puts it in a monthly report to the VP and says, project delayed by 2 weeks due to resource optimization, but it's manageable.
And by the time it hits the executive dashboard, it is just a tiny yellow dot on a spreadsheet.
Precisely. The nuance, the panic, the actual structural failure, it is all completely sterilized. Middle management filters things for self-preservation, obviously, but also just for simplicity. You can't put a novel on a one-page summary.
Right, so you have to bypass the filter. And it's not just internal, right? The same applies to how you view your customers.
Yes.
The piece points out that customers change constantly. Their budgets shrink, their internal problems shift, their expectations get warped by whatever, new app they just downloaded.
Oh, 100%. And if your understanding of the customer comes from a beautifully bound persona research document that your marketing firm completed, say, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
you are effectively a ghost hunter. You are leading a company designed to serve a customer who literally no longer exists.
That's a scary thought. And you can't rely on numeric satisfaction scores either, can you? Like
No.
a 7 out of 10 tells you nothing about the nuance of someone's frustration.
It's just a number.
Right. You have to ask them directly. Why did you hire us? What was the moment you almost decided to walk away? If you fired us tomorrow, what would be the exact reason?
You need the raw data, because once you understand the physical work, the messy internal reality, and the evolving customer, you have to attach all of that to the lifeblood that powers the machine.
Right. The money.
Yeah.
Financial fluency.
Yes.
And this is an area where I think a lot of people, especially creative or like product-focused leaders, they tend to freeze up. They just assume finances for the CFO.
Which is a huge mistake.
Yeah. But the source is very clear on this.
Yeah.
Knowing your total revenue and checking if there's money in the bank is nowhere near enough to pilot the ship.
No, you don't need to be an accountant, but you do need to understand the physical mechanics of cash within your specific business model. It's not just a list of vocabulary words to memorize.
Right. They list things like margins, major expenses, the cash cycle, customer acquisition cost or CAC, and the break-even point. And if you are listening and those just sound like corporate buzzwords, let's actually look at how they operate in the real world.
Let's do it.
Let's take the cash cycle.
The cash cycle is a perfect example of a mechanism that destroys companies while their dashboards look fantastic.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Okay, let's say you run a manufacturing company or an agency. You land a massive $10,000 order. You celebrate, right? The revenue dashboard goes up.
Break out the champagne.
Exactly. But to fulfill that order, you have to buy materials and pay your staff today. That cash leaves your bank account immediately.
Right, but the client doesn't pay you until the product is delivered, so maybe 30 or 60 or even 90 days from now.
Exactly. So you have a massive cash gap. If you grow too fast and you land 10 of those massive orders in 1 month, your cash gap multiplies.
Oh.
You have to pay out all that money up front, and you have literally nothing coming in for 3 months. You can literally grow yourself right into bankruptcy.
Which completely flips the script on how we normally talk about business. Because here's where it gets really interesting. We celebrate growth. If a business has more employees, a second office, top-line revenue is exploding, doesn't that automatically mean the business is stronger?
The source definitively debunks this. Leaders often confuse growth with health. None of those things automatically mean the business is getting stronger.
Right.
If your revenue is up, but your margins are shrinking because the cost of materials has skyrocketed, your growth is actually a vulnerability.
It's just a bigger liability.
Exactly. Or think about customer acquisition costs, This is how much you have to spend on marketing and sales just to get one single paying customer.
Okay, let's run a scenario on that. Say you spend $1,000 on Facebook ads to acquire one customer.
Okay, and if that customer only buys a product that gives you $500 in profit, you are losing $500 every single time you make a sale.
But if you only look at top-line revenue,
You just see that you are selling a lot of products. You think you are scaling, but you are actually just burning a hole in the floor faster.
oh man, or the nightmare scenario, right? Your revenue is huge, but 80% of it comes from one single corporate client.
Yes.
You aren't a strong business. You are a hostage to whatever that client decides to do next quarter. If they leave, you collapse.
And that is why financial fluency isn't about doing math. It is about diagnosing structural integrity. It allows you to distinguish between a company that is healthy and scaling versus a bloated operation that is just spinning its wheels and creating activity.
And activity does not equal profitability.
Never.
But, I mean, keeping track of all of these mechanics, the cash cycle, the messy customer reality, the uncompressed internal workflows, it's exhausting, which is why we naturally seek shortcuts.
Human nature again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the ultimate, most modern shortcut of all, artificial intelligence.
Ah, yes. The Stellapop piece frames AI as this really fascinating double-edged sword when it comes to understanding your business. They call it the AI paradox.
The paradox being that AI gives executives access to more information faster than ever before in human history.
Right.
You can literally ask a chatbot, to summarize a 50-page quarterly financial report, analyze the sentiment of 1,000 employee surveys, and project your sales pipeline all in about 12 seconds.
And it will do it brilliantly. It looks amazing. But simultaneously, AI makes it easier than ever to avoid actually learning the business. Because fundamentally, summaries are not understanding.
If I can use a different analogy here, relying entirely on an AI summary of your business, to me is like navigating a complex, unfamiliar city by blindly following the blue line on your GPS.
Oh, that's good.
Right. Yes, it is incredibly convenient. But if there's a glitch and the GPS tells you to turn right and drive directly down a boat ramp into a lake, you will only know to hit the brakes if you actually understand the physical terrain around you. If you are entirely dependent on the screen, you are driving into the water.
And that is a very real danger for modern leaders. AI is incredibly articulate. It is designed to sound confident and authoritative even when it completely lacks the crucial, messy human context.
Which is usually the most important part.
Exactly. A leader who doesn't possess a deep structural understanding of their company risks accepting those confident AI answers simply because they sound smart.
You just become a passive consumer of information rather than an active pilot. But wait, I do want to clarify something.
Sure.
The source literally has a section that says, skip the shortcuts. But in that very same breath, it lists out all these modern tools, dashboards, software, consultants, and AI, and explicitly says to use them. How do we reconcile that?
Well, the nuance is in the relationship you have with the tool. Use the AI to accelerate your investigation, absolutely. Use the dashboard to flag anomalies.
So there are pointers.
Yes. But never confuse the tool with mastery. The tool cannot synthesize the unquantifiable realities of your business. If you know the terrain, you become like an AI whisperer.
I love that.
You know how to ask it better questions, you can immediately spot the hallucinations, and you can recognize what context is missing from its analysis. You use the tools to help build something that no software can replicate.
The mental model?
Yes, a living, breathing mental model of the entire machine. The piece describes this as the ability to see the chain reaction.
Okay, let's actually walk through what that chain reaction looks like in practice, because I think this is where all of these concepts finally click together. You have to see how a seemingly isolated decision cascades through the entire ecosystem.
Right. Let's start with marketing. Say your marketing team decides to change their messaging to drive more leads, but they start attracting the wrong type of customer, someone who expects a feature you don't actually offer.
Okay, so marketing affects sales. The sales team is now talking to these confused leads. To hit their quota, the sales reps start making wild promises and offering heavy discounts just to get these bad-fit clients to sign the contract.
Which means sales affects operations. Now the operations team is handed a client who was promised the moon for half the price. They have to scramble to deliver an impossible product, which completely ruins the workflow and burns out the staff.
And operations directly affects the customer experience. The client receives a rushed, buggy product, realizes it's not what they were promised in the marketing phase, and just has a terrible time.
And customer experience instantly affects retention. That client cancels their contract after the first month and leaves a terrible review.
And then retention dictates your cash, because you spent all that money acquiring the customer, like we talked about with CAC, and they left before you could break even, so your cash flow tanks. Which means you can't hire the extra engineers you desperately needed.
Exactly. Hiring affects capacity, capacity affects the culture, and a burnt-out culture cannot execute. That is the entire machine. Everything is connected.
It's all connected, and there is absolutely no app you can download that will replace the cognitive ability to trace that specific chain reaction. That understanding only comes from curiosity, repetition, observation, making mistakes, and just spending time close to the actual work.
Which brings us to what the piece calls the gut check. This is the ultimate test for you, the listener.
Get ready.
Imagine you have to walk into a boardroom tomorrow morning. You have no slides, no laptop, no AI assistant, just you and a whiteboard.
Could you clearly explain exactly how your company acquires a customer, how it delivers value, how it makes money, and how it develops its people?
Could you name the 3 biggest external vulnerabilities that could destroy the business next year?
Or could you name the 3 internal people who are actually closest to the uncompressed truth of what is happening?
If you are sitting there listening and feeling a slight pit in your stomach because you realize you can't confidently diagram that machine, don't panic.
Right. Take a breath.
But you do need to recognize that vulnerability. As the source material beautifully puts it, that is not an indictment, it is an assignment.
It's an invitation to get out of the bubble. Go sit with the invoice clerk. Listen to the angry customer call. Map the cash cycle. Because the leaders who take the time to know their business at a cellular level will always be able to see the opportunities and the threats that everyone else who is blinded by their dashboards completely misses.
And as we wrap up today's deep dive, there is one final, larger implication to all of this. We spent this entire time talking about these concepts in the context of leading a company or a team.
Right.
But try applying this exact same gut check to your own personal life and your career trajectory.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Think of your own life as the machine. Are you just managing the scoreboard of your own existence? Like, are you just looking at the balance in your checking account or the prestige of the job title on your LinkedIn profile or even the step counter on your smartwatch and confusing those compressed metrics with actual health, happiness, and fulfillment?
Or do you deeply understand your own inner mechanics? Do you know what truly drives you? Do you know where your personal margins, your energy, and your time are quietly disappearing?
Because if you don't understand the physical mechanics of what makes you thrive, you are just a passenger in your own career. You're relying on a dashboard that might be telling you you're winning a game you don't even want to play. Get close to your own machine. Understand the mechanics so you can truly influence the game.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Take that assignment into your week and start looking past the scoreboard.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.